Good morning. This is the Bible class for the 1st through 4th, 1st through 6th grade at the Gloster Street Church of Christ. This class is for July the 5th, and we're so glad that you've tuned in. I hope that you all are having a great summer, and I hope that you're learning a lot at the same time. Today, we want to talk about a parable that comes from Matthew chapter 13. It's in verse 33. It's a very, very short parable, but I think it means a whole lot. This parable says this: the kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till it was all leavened. Now, you may not be familiar with the word leaven, but I bet you know what yeast is. If you've ever seen your mother or your grandmother or somebody else in your family baking, they use something to make the bread rise. When I was very, very young man, just out on my own, moved into my first apartment. And I decided one day I love biscuits, I would make some biscuits. And I went to the store and I bought some flour and I came home and I made the biscuits, and they were almost like crackers. They were not fluffy, they were flat and they were hard. And I wasn't married at the time, but I was engaged to Sharon, my wife. And at one point, she called, and I asked her, I said, I don't understand what happened to my biscuits. And she said, what kind of flour did you use? You see, some flour has yeast and leavening in it, and that's not the kind I bought. I learned a valuable lesson. You need leavening. It makes bread and cakes and cookies rise so that they're fluffy and they're soft and that we enjoy eating them. Now, there's different kinds of leavening. Probably the most common is yeast. Baking powder, baking soda, they both contain some leavening ingredients. Most of you who have eaten my wife's homemade bread, it's really interesting. The leavening that's used in that bread is instant potatoes, dried instant potatoes, because that has the same sort of leavening power in it. So you use leavening, yeast or whatever, in baking goods to make things rise. And you can put a little bit in a big bowl of dough and stir it up, and it'll make that whole bowl of dough rise. Now, what does that have to do with Christianity? And what does that have to do with my life that I live? Well, what Jesus is saying here is that the kingdom of heaven is like leavening. In other words, there's a lot of influence if we live our lives the way we're supposed to. You see, I firmly believe that a Christian life is the very best life somebody can lead. I realize everybody's going to have problems sometimes and everybody's going to be unhappy sometimes, but a Christian should be the happiest person because they know God and because they have the hope of heaven. And when people see us living the way God wants us to live, and they can be comfortable around us and they don't have to worry about whether we're lying or telling the truth, and they can trust us, and they can know they're safe around us because we're not going to try to harm other people, it should make them think, I want that in my life. I want to be like that. And if they see that we're happy, they're going to want to be happy too. And so that influence that we have in living the way we should make other people want to live for Christ as well. Now, let's look at the flip side of this for just a moment. It's interesting that this is one of the few passages in the Bible that uses leavening in a positive way. Most of the time in the Bible, when leavening is used, it's actually used in a negative way. You may realize that when your parents partake of the Lord's Supper on Sundays, they eat unleavened bread that doesn't have any leavening or yeast in it. And the reason for that is leavening, for the most part in the Bible, represented things that were wrong, represented sin. And so God wanted His people to realize we don't want sin in our life. Well, you think about people who misbehave. I know sometimes in class you can have one person that's being rowdy and they'll get everybody around them misbehaving and talking because people do what they do. So their influence is not good, it's bad. And we've got to be careful about that. I want my influence to be good. I want to be the type of leavening that Jesus is talking about in this parable that influences people to do good things. So today's lesson is you need to think about, what does my life tell others? What is my influence? How do I affect other people? And in the review questions, one of the questions is going to be, what is leavening? And you can just say it's something that makes bread rise. And what is leavening to a Christian? And you can say leavening is our reputation. And we need to have a good reputation to other people. I hope you do your handiwork and your lessons this week. And I hope you have a great time. And I hope you watch the way you act, so that it's good that other people can imitate what you do. We'll see you hopefully Sunday morning if you're able to come to church. And we'll see you again next week for our next Bible study. Have a great week, and we hope things go well with you.